All right, third grade, welcome to our flipped Buchanan PLC for November 8th through the 12th. It is important that you are together as a team as you're watching this video and as you complete the PLC reflective work for this week. I want to remind us of our norms. Even though we are not all together, it is still so important that we remain on task together. We have good intentions as we are going through our data and processing together. We are present. And of course, the biggest one of all, we operate with a growth mindset. Our process as we go through PLCs is that we always begin with our strengths. We're going to take a look at our data for third grade for math and ELA, and we're going to talk through together what are the strengths that we see, where are the positives. Then we're going to take a look at the misconceptions. What are the weaknesses or gaps that we're seeing in our data? We're then going to make some inferences. Why do we have strengths in certain areas? Why do we have gaps and weaknesses in certain areas? What internal or external factors could be contributing to our strengths or our weaknesses in our data? And then finally, the strategy alignment. This is the most important piece of all. We've mapped out our strengths, we've mapped out our weaknesses and why, but now we have to decide what are we going to do during instructional time to continue to address some of these gaps that we see. If it's a pre-assessment, it's pretty easy. We're going to be lesson planning and developing strategies to help bring our students up to mastery. If we're reflecting on a post-assessment and we're realizing that we still have a lot of students with gaps and have not met mastery, we may have to get creative when we're strategy aligning. How are we going to infuse this standard or this part of the standard that our students are still missing into our instructional time? How am I going to infuse this into win time for additional intervention? All right, so the first thing that you're going to do as a grade level is you're going to fill out this first part of the PLC assessment reflective work. The assessments that third grade is going to be looking at this week is Unit 2A Math Pre-Assessment and Unit 3.2A ELA Post-Assessment. All right, so up at the top, you'll see that it is the ELA assessment. You're going to fill out the teacher name. You're going to fill out your ELA pre-assessment average, your class average, and then your ELA post-assessment class average. This is going to help us see our overall class growth. You're then going to put the number of students who met mastery overall. That's 80% or above on the overall assessment. And then you're going to mark any student who is at near mastery. That's 50% or above overall on their ELA assessment. For the math assessment, this is a pre-assessment, so this is going to look a little bit different. You're going to fill out the teacher name, the math pre-assessment overall average, and any student who has met mastery 80% above or near mastery 50% above. You will not have math post-assessment average data to fill out on this sheet because you just administered the pre-assessment. After this, we're going to take a look at both of the assessments that you just administered. We'll start with the ELA assessment because you've now given a pre and a post assessment for ELA Unit 3.2A. As a whole grade level, you are going to fill out one of these documents for ELA. You're going to go through what are the strengths for Unit 3.2A, what are the gaps that we're still seeing, the inferences, why do we have those strengths, why do we still have those gaps, and then at the bottom you are going to strategy align together. Keeping in mind, this is a post-assessment, so if we still have students that are struggling and not meeting mastery, we're going to have to get creative with our strategy alignment. How are we going to combine standards in the next unit so students can still be brought up to speed? How are we going to infuse this concept in 3.2A or this standard in 3.2A into win time so we can address student gaps still? You'll then fill one out for Unit 2A Math Pre-Assessment. Pre-assessment's a little bit easier. You are going to note the strengths that you see. We're going to note the gaps that we see, and then, of course, the why, the inferences. And then you're going to talk about strategy alignment again. how are you going to address some of these gaps that you're seeing? Although we know that it's pretty normal to have lots of gaps in our pre-assessment data. After you've completed these 3 sheets, so one of these where you're plugging in by teacher your pre and post assessment averages, those who met mastery and near mastery. One of these pages for ELA and one of them for math, you will submit them to myself, Trina, and Stacy, and you will have completed your PLC reflective work for this week. Reach out if you have any questions.